Doug. Here comes Sean. Doug. And James. Doug. Sweaty time professional wrestling.
Welcome to the new podcast, Sweaty Time Pro Wrestling. I'm the Marsland Media empire of podcasting.
Oh, no, this is actually an OK Owl production.
Welcome to OK Owl, baby. I am one host named Sean. Hello.
Hi,
and the other host.
I'm James. I thought you were going to also introduce me because this is your show, fucker.
Yeah, but I like the idea about, I like the idea, we should have discussed this. I like the idea of us introducing ourselves and let's put our voice out there instead of waiting. Because, like, whatever energy you're coming into today.
Well, yeah, I was also waiting for you to, like, throw to me, but you hadn't done that yet. And then once I started, you started.
Because I noticed you didn't come in, so I'm like, oh, he's waiting for me to throw to him.
Yeah. Throw with a DDT, maybe.
Yeah, baby. This is a new podcast we're doing where we're going to go through. We're starting it with Lucha Underground, and we're just going to go through and watch these episodes of wrestling. And I'm going to try and turn James into a wrestling fan.
Ooh, new podcast, same chair from Sean.
Pretty much.
Give that to an indie fed so they can bash someone over the head with it and they'll be like, that's the hardest hit chair I've ever been hit by. Not the physical thing, but the squeaky noise really hurt my ears.
I don't like the attack on my chair budget or lack thereof, so I'm going to change the topic.
I have new chairs that I could give you. I find them in alleyways, but they're good.
I'm tired of talking about this. James... Tell me about your experience of wrestling. Because I've talked about mine on previous podcasts. I'm a fairly experienced wrestling fan. I started watching after my Saturday morning cartoons in like 2001, 2002, because the Hurricane was a superhero and also a wrestler. So that was kind of like my hook. Was like, I like superheroes. Let's see what wrestling's about. And then I've been pretty dedicated ever since.
Also, towers crashed down and you said, I gotta get rid of this kid shit.
Yeah, the world changed.
Yeah.
9/11 happened. I was like, I can't be watching Yu-Gi-Oh anymore. I need to be watching the Stone Cold Stephen Austin show.
But me, I was like, man, I gotta get down on this Beyblade shit.
Yeah, you went the opposite. The towers came down and it's like, I need to appreciate my time on this fragile earth.
And then, I got real depressed. I used to always think like, man, why? My eyes aren't tired, but it feels like my brain, there's a heaviness on it. What's that about? And then, 3 years later, clinical depression. That's what it was.
Hooray. So that's your history with wrestling?
My
clinical
history
depression?
with wrestling.
I think you forgot that I asked you a question.
As a child, I was always like, well, that's stupid shit. I'm not watching that. I had friends, cousins who would have the video games or would be watching it. I'm like, no, that's dumb shit.
And what year was this? What year of your childhood was this?
I'm like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, etc. Until I started hanging out with like Tyler Wright, Cord Walsworth, that group of friends who were into wrestling, especially Cord. In 2009, they were all watching it every single Monday and Friday at one of their houses during the summertime. That's when I started getting into it. You can listen to the whole CM Punk of it all on one of the episodes of Shuffling the Deck in this feed.
I bet.
And it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
And then got a girlfriend, so then started phasing out. So I was into it for maybe a year.
Was that Summer of Punk?
Maybe. It was when he took down Jeff Hardy, a.k.a. the enabler.
Okay.
The piece of shit himself.
I was waiting for this second word to be clever, and then it just never came.
No, he's just the enabler.
Okay.
There's nothing clever about someone saying, hey, kids, do drugs.
I think it was more, hey, kids, I have a problem with addiction, and that's going to be a lifelong disease I struggle with. But, attacking someone is cool, too.
Yeah, okay, for his shoot promos would have been that way, but his opposite of shoot promos. We're like, hey, kids, be like me. Have a good time. Be the party lifestyle.
That was really more the Headbangers than Jeff Hardy.
Who the hell are the Headbangers?
Careful, James. Your ignorance is showing, as well as your penis.
What is this, MTV2 with the Headbangers ball?
Absolutely. It is. Yes. I remember that show, but not really because I didn't have MTV2.
I remember it from I Love the 90s and I Love the 80s on VH1. Check it out.
Have so many false memories from I Love the 80s and I Love the 70s. Like, it's weird, like, how many things I remember, like, oh, yeah, I have nostalgia for that. And then I remember, like, I didn't actually live through any of that. I just watched a lot of VH1.
You know the game Sevens from Never Not Funny?
Yeah.
Do you ever play it?
No.
So I downloaded it and had a great time playing it with, it saved not a lot of, I don't have awkward conversations with my in-laws, but sometimes you're just like waiting somewhere or on a long car ride with in-laws and just, I pull out Sevens. The best with my mother-in-law, Nicole's mom, and we're not married, but I'm calling them that because it's easier instead of saying my girlfriend's mother. So I've been in the family for almost a decade and I hope they fucking start realizing that.
That didn't sound threatening at all.
No, I'm just bitter about a one specific situation that happened at a family outing where I fell on the outskirts. So,
I'm sorry.
Don't be. Okay. I'm just a petty bitch. So
Yay.
We were playing Sevens, and one of I think we got like a 38 or like a 42, which is very good for that game on the 70s. And her mom and stepdad were like, how do you know this? And I was like, I love the 70s from VH1. That's how I know this bullshit.
For true. Like, it was between, like, it's so weird how much. First of all, how many times they've done that show there? I think there were 3 seasons of the 80s, 2 of the 70s.
Yeah, and then a few of the 90s, and then they tried doing the 2000s, but it was like way too in the forefront. Like, they were trying to do it in like 2008.
Yeah, like, I didn't even hook up with, like, I dropped it by the thousands.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother watching the I Love the 2000s because you could feel like there's no, it's weird. Nostalgia, obviously, it was all a money grab. It was a very simple to shoot, cheap production that they could like coin a lot of, market a lot of Bitcoin off of or whatever, however TV works. But like, it was always a money grab. Nostalgia is, but there's still like baked in good feelings about it. Where the 2000s, I Love the 2000s came out, and it was just so obvious. Like, this is impossible to be nostalgia for. It was yesterday.
Yeah, there's also not even nostalgia. There's no time to have reflected on that stuff. It's not in the rear view mirror. It is there.
Yeah, like that's one of the fun things about I Love the 70s is like looking at like, oh, pet rocks are kind of silly, and now we have time to reflect on the silliness of pet rocks. I'm still heavily invested in 2000, whatever the cryptocurrency equivalent of 2000s was. I didn't think this joke through.
You could have called it back to like, I still fucking love Yu-Gi-Oh! I have the cards in my pocket right now. It was a year ago this came out.
I'm a Blue Eyes White Dragon in the ring. James, we started watching wrestling today.
We did. Can we also discuss our days on this and weeks? We haven't talked to each other in a couple weeks. Do you have anything?
Like, no, we just spent 10 minutes talking about shit.
Yeah, but not our week. We should have started with that. You jumped the gun a little too early. You in the driver's seat. I think you need we'll slap a sticker that says student podcast host on here. Okay.
All right, James, do you want to kill time unnecessarily by talking about your week?
It's not unnecessarily. It's to let people in on our week, and
I don't like letting people in on my week. I like having a conversation, letting it like for about 10 minutes, and then we can just like get into the podcast. Fuck you people. You don't need to know what I do with my time. What are you, a tracker? Are you people? I'm sorry, I gotta talk to these people real quick. Who the fuck do you people think you are following me around? Are you a librarian hunting me down because I have overdue fines from renting out Land Before Time?
How?
I'm not bringing it back. It's my Land Before Time VHS now, and you're gonna have to suck it, baby.
Sean, when did you check this VHS out?
I will never tell you because I'm not letting these people into my life.
Okay, so it was
1997. It was 1997,
okay.
yeah.
Because now there aren't late fees unless you have it for over 12 months. They give you a lot of auto renewals. Oh, unless someone has checked it as like, hey, I would like to get this book. Then you have like a month or two to return it.
Yeah, no, it's been since VHSs were relevant. So
hey, they're coming
You can
back.
do the math.
Says the boxes and boxes in my closet that I'm listing things on eBay.
I mean, it's weird. Like I like that VHSs and VCRs are coming back because there's a certain quality to it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like I wouldn't like you know how like new music is being released on vinyl and that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to see new movies being released on VHS unless they're specifically filmed in a poor quality that can be covered up on a VHS. You know what I mean?
Like if it is filmed on a VHS or some type of cassette, magnetic tape stylings. Yes, new movies being released on VHS, that's kind of weird, but there's a lot of movies that you can't watch anywhere else, so you got to find them, seek them out on that format.
Absolutely. But at that point, you're a specialist, you know?
Yeah.
You're like specializing in collecting VCRs and VHSs. There's no, where like I feel like in music you can be a little more casual and collect vinyl because why is the most recent band I can think of Coheed and Cambria?
That's fine.
Because Coheed and Cambria just released their last album, or White Stripes were doing this for a while, and the Raconteurs would release on vinyl. You know, like that, like because modern bands wanted to release on vinyl. Like, you can be a more casual vinyl collector. That's not really the case with VHS. Like, there's such an obvious downgrade in quality.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta be into the VHS scene.
Anime is one of the things, like, hey, if you're into anime, a lot of, especially dubbed anime, has only ever been released on VHS because Final Fantasy Legend of the Crystals, we did it for This Existed last month, and that has only ever been released in America on VHS. Nicole bought it for me last Christmas. Lil Corey and I, we put the CRT down. We watched it. Oh, baby, it was fun. So
Yay.
It's nice that you just plop it in and you set it and forget it. There's no remote, and if you want to rewind, you have to wait for it. There's no scenes to be had. It's nice like vinyl. Nicole, when I explained that to her, she's like, you could also do that for a Blu-ray, you piece of shit. And I'm like, don't call me that, Nicole. But my week, both are wrestling related tangentially, Sean.
You sure?
Would you like to hear about the tabling event or a TV show I've been watching? Which one first?
Talk to me. I don't care. Talk to me, Daddy.
Okay, well, talk about BattleBots. Oh my God. Whew,
Okay.
baby. I don't think you saw the tweet that I said, which was Sean Marciniak's dream job is doing warm-up for BattleBots events, or at least that's my dream job for him.
No, I did see it. I just
Why don't you retweet?
Because I hate warm up and I don't want to do it, and I hate stand up comedy.
What?
And we've talked about this. How I really feel uncomfortable about like not being into stand up because it has been such a major passion of mine for as long as I can remember, and like not having that passion anymore legitimately fills me with this sense of like anxiety and loss. Is this good for a comedy podcast?
I don't know.
I love talking about my week.
Sean, I was in an Uber and I saw a sign that said like, be a dad today, which I was
I'm curious to see how this relates, but please continue.
And I was like, you want to know what? That's great. I'm so glad I saw that sign that said, be a dad today, because I did have a child in the trunk of this Uber.
Hey, that's a joke of mine, I think.
Yeah, it is, baby. I watched your stand-up recently.
Is that like that's like the one from college, I think. That's like a 2010, 11 bit.
Never forget.
Damn. I'm glad I quit comedy. That joke sucks.
But it was so crazy. I think you were not even 20 years old based on how old I know you are.
No, if it's the sets I'm thinking of, I would have been exactly 21.
Oh, okay.
Because that bar wouldn't let you in. We had a friend. I remember this is back in SUNY Fredonia. Fredonia is like this very small town right off Lake Erie in New York State. They got a little college there for a bunch of weird little artsy weirdos. And BJ's, blackjacks, but also blowjobs was the name of this bar. And that's when I started doing comedy as an adult, right? I started telling jokes in high school. I think I was a sophomore.
Even before that, on your cassette tape, and you were like trying to be quiet about it.
I told that story. But I started performing jokes in front of people in like sophomore year of high school. I started telling jokes at comedy events because this was like when I started. I was doing it at like, it was open mic, but it was mostly like folk, like, singers, songwriters. There was a weird dude with a synthesizer. There was another weird dude who sounded like Johnny Cash, and I loved him. And then there was me.
You don't have to say a weird dude when you say with a synthesizer.
Oh man, I remember him breaking down like how he would make people squirt in front of us, like to us, and we were all in high school. And looking back on it, that story is not as cute as it is creepy. But at the time, it was a funny story.
It's also informative. It's like, hey guys, you got to like go up by the Skeens gland, which is when you go in and you'll feel kind of like the merging of two like flesh areas, and then you really got to work that. Be also communicative, as you should always be in sex, and eventually waters will come a-rushing from that Skeens gland.
But I should mention, again, we were in high school, and I think the group was mostly girls. He was not. Oh. He was not.
I guess that's my bias when you were talking about like performing stand-up comedy. I just assumed all dudes.
No, that was the thing. No, because it wasn't. I was the only comedian at this open mic in high school. Yeah. Then it was just a bunch of like musicians. And then in college, the clip you watched, that was the first time I was doing. It was a dedicated stand-up night.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I was 21 at the time, so I could get into this bar and drink and tell my jokes and have a good time.
It was some good stuff, guys. You should check it out.
I should mark that as private.
You marked the other shit as private, that I was like That's the true. Good stuff that I was trying to find to show. I was like, oh, we should watch Sean stand up with Nicole's parents. Couldn't find it.
Why?
I don't know.
They don't need to see this.
They liked BattleBots. Why wouldn't they like this?
Because BattleBots is a quality production.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
So BattleBots, it truly is, it's become wrestling. Like there's one dude who talks like Macho Man Randy Savage, but is dead behind the eyes.
Like Macho Man Randy Savage.
No, Macho Man, like his eyebrows would move. This dude is just like as if he is just like doing an audio performance. It's just all in the vocal performance. And
that was a cheap shot. Like I am a Macho Man fan because Macho Man puts everything into every word he says. There's no dead delivery from Macho Man.
His
ever.
sphincters are moving.
In
is
his
that a word
for fingers?
Sphincter?
Yeah, or is that a sphincter? I can't tell what a sphincter is.
It's like in your butt and stuff. It's any opening muscle in your body. It's not just butts. You also have one in your throat, one in your tummies, from like your stomach into your intestines. It's any walled off muscle area that opens up inside you.
Hell yeah. I feel like BattleBots was always wrestling too. When did BattleBots debut? Like the first round?
The first round of television was in, I think, 2001 on Comedy Central. But So I started recently with the 2 ABC seasons, and those were like, hey, this is network television. Then when it went over to Discovery and the Science Channel, that's like, oh, people are being characters, at least some of them. The others are like, who I like, are just introverted nerds who don't know how to talk to anyone, let alone a camera in front of them. So I love that stuff. But then once people try to start being a character, I'm like, please fast forward, get out of here.
It's so easy. And like anyone in any form of performance, wrestlers, comedians, actors, whatever, if your art is a form of performance, I think the first thing you need to realize is that it's very easy to tell when someone is faking it. Like, that's why, like, the joke is like, oh yeah, we're actors, we're all just liars. But it's not that. You kind of really need to feel something in the moment because it's you don't realize how apparent it is until you watch someone else doing a character and like obviously forcing a character onto themselves. And you're just like, that's nothing. You have no connection to that. And it shows. But yeah, like, especially BattleBots coming out in 2000, 2001. Like, it's the weird thing to remember, like, wrestling financially and like commercially peaked in the late 90s, early 2000s with the Attitude Era. I don't think it's the best era of wrestling. I think wrestling's gotten better, but it is the most it is the last time wrestling was that mainstream popular and crossover popular. So of course, BattleBots seeing that and being like, oh yeah, wrestling, but with robots, because wrestling is the hottest thing in the market right now.
Even the commentary of BattleBots and what we'll be discussing today is so much alike, except one is ASMR and cozy and is like, okay, you guys need to pick it up a little. And then the other's like, okay, maybe draw it back a little. Will not reveal yet which one is which.
I'm curious.
But speaking of the 2000s, Nicole and I went to a tabling event, and we have now such a hard time figuring out, will the crowd be our crowd? There was a fashion show along with this for like Gen Z individuals. So Nicole's like, oh, it'll be like cool people. No. This is like new age hipsters, like Gen Z hipsters who I described like when we started up, the fashion side was also prepping. And I was like, Nicole, the fashion is Buffy wardrobe department. And like the bad stuff in Buffy, not like when Buffy's in like a beautiful like slip dress and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe this was on TV, because this is borderline just like nude art.
I can jerk off to this.
Yes.
Get this off of my television.
But
save it for Google Dark.
What it is,
incognito mode,
is if all these individuals had face paint on, I'd be like, we're at a Juggalo. Like, this is like a Juggalo event, but people are like, hey, it's hot outside. We don't have time to put on our makeup. Let's just go hang out real quick. Like an impromptu, everyone was dressed in like Jinko jeans, boxy, baggy shirts. It was wrestling fashion of the early 2000s. That's what Gen Z thinks is cool. And I look at it and I'm like, you guys are fucking dorks.
I mean, wow. I guess I don't realize it enough. I do think like, if I had to think of Gen Z, I'm picturing like Billie Eilish, right?
Yes.
She does do the baggy t-shirts. Baggy t-shirts with like the tight jeans, I think is a cool look.
No. This is like baggy jeans as well. This truly is like the dirt bag dudes that my sister would hang out in middle school with. That's the, like, a Slipknot concert in 2004, stuff like that. That is what they're doing. And you hear, like, on TikTok, you'll see, or you'll hear people talk about people on TikTok of like, oh, Gen Z, they're like, they think late 90s, early 2000 fashion's cool and in. They do. Yeah. You think that's just, older people talking shit on a newer generation, but it's not. Like, they truly think that's dope, and they're But
that's not new. That's like, vintage is always 20 years ago.
Yes,
that's 20 years ago. Like, that's not. This is to be expected.
No one was walking around.
Just because you did not prepare for the apocalypse doesn't mean the apocalypse isn't coming.
Just because.
Come to my bunker.
No one was
Junko
like
jeans.
In the 90s walking. It would be the equivalent of someone walking around in like full disco garb from the 70s, or things like, what's it called? Like Disco Stew was a joke because like no one was doing that. It was, like, hey, this is what everyone, like the general populace was wearing in the 70s. But with the late 90s, early 2000s, not everyone was looking like they were going to a Juggalo wrestling event.
Well, actually, yes, hold on. Yeah, they were. Because I don't associate that with wrestling at all. I associate that with skate culture and metal culture. And in like the late 90s, early 2000s, the new metal scene was absolutely taking over.
I guess I
absolutely,
wasn't.
Yeah.
Everyone I was hanging out with, like no one was wearing that until like I would wear some like trip jeans or not jeans, pants that had, like they would bellow out in the bottom because I was like, yeah, these are comfortable. So I was just baffled because it was truly everyone. And like I said, because they're also holding a 90s attitude of like, oh, we don't like anything. We don't like cute shit. So like Nicole's stuff wasn't selling besides a few people. Nicole said for events, if they allow drinking, she will not table at them anymore because then it's like cool people opposed to like the nerd she's looking for. Nicole tabled at a like school event for like children and made bucos. Like that's the thing. She's like, I just need to start doing schools and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been very opposed. I don't like being too cool for stuff. You don't have more fun. I used to think that. I used to be too cool for everything. And I wasn't having fun.
Even being a father.
Definitely for being a father.
But good thing you saw that sign.
Sorry, Michael. That's my son I've abandoned.
That was a kid in the trunk.
Yeah, nobody knows this joke that I haven't told since like 2011, James. Let it go.
Well, it's a callback. They know it now. I performed it.
Yeah, good job.
Not as well, though.
No, you were great.
Well, let's get into this shit, baby.
Yeah, we started watching Lucha Underground.
Oh, wait, I forgot I have a segment.
Jesus, we're 30 minutes in.
Yeah, that's fine. We're still good.
You wanted this to be an hour,
be like,
hour and a half tops.
It would be an hour until we would start.
The show.
Guys, we're talking about Lucha Underground, but what about Unearthing the Underground? That's right. I'm bringing back Unearth the Underground, where I put on display a rap underground album, an underground rap album, I should say. And I just like give you some back story about it and then tell you, go listen to it because it probably went under your radar because it's underground.
Cool.
So first, we're going to the state I call trash, Michigan, Detroit specifically. I can call it trash. I grew up there. Anyone else who's like, in Michigan, it sucks, doesn't it? Shut the fuck up. I'll punch you in the dick or the clit.
Yeah.
It's King Gordy's King of Horrorcore Volume 1. I first heard King Gordy as a featured artist on Bizarre's Handicap Circus and Proof's Searching for Jerry Garcia. I believe both of those came out in 2004. I got Searching for Jerry Garcia for my birthday, and I believe I've told this story on one of these shows. I got that, then it was my birthday. Oh, everyone, it's a family event. And then I proceeded to take that CD, maybe 5:30 at night, bike to a playground maybe 2 miles away, and then swing on a swing set by myself for 2 hours while listening to that. I was depressed, guys. But I loved him. He was mainly doing singing on it. And I was like, this is the underground's Nate Dogg. He's like gruff. He really loves Nirvana. So he's like Nate Dogg mixed with, hardcore hip hop. And it was so fucking good. I loved it. And then I found his music on MySpace. And at the time, it was the Singles from Ya High Guy mixtape, which was El Diablo, Banned from TV, and I Love You. There was one more because you could have 4 songs on MySpace. The fourth one alludes. Oh, wait, Outlaw. That's what it was. Just remembered it.
That was cool to see in real time.
Yeah, baby. Oh, Outlaw. Outlaw is one of his greatest songs. Find that, guys. It's on YouTube. I then downloaded that.
Or MySpace.
Or MySpace, even though MySpace music I think, 2009 no longer exists because they had a server issue and all those files got wiped. It really sucks because a lot of stuff is only available on MySpace, but now it isn't. Like Trio of Horror, which was a mental ward side project that was really good.
Damn.
Or as I joked, GMAC, a great mental ward side project. Heating on that asshole. GMAC, the asshole, not mental ward. They're good people.
Okay.
GMAC is not.
Is it still a joke if nobody knows that you're joking because they don't know who GMAC is?
That's how it should be. No one should know who GMAC is. That dude's a chud.
Ooh, shots fired.
Ooh, baby. He stole money from my friends.
Fuck him.
Allegedly. I'm kidding. It's not alleged. So I then downloaded King Gordy, which some of you might know King Gordy from playing Big O in 8 Mile, but he was on Web Entertainment, which is where Eminem got his start with, I believe, the Bass Brothers. Yes, the Bass Brothers. And he released an album called The Entity, and that album is a stone cold Steve Austin classic. And I would discuss that one, but it's not anywhere to stream officially. It's on YouTube. You can find it, but King of Horrorcore is more readily available. And I believe that's due to rights issues, which I will bring that up in a little bit as to why that is. This was self-released and self-produced after delays and no support from the aforementioned Web Entertainment because they were, as King Gordy alludes to in King of Horrorcore Volume 2, they're more focused on Eminem because, like, yeah, that's the cash cow. And I'm guessing because the Entity didn't do, like, buco numbers as they were expecting to because it's, like, co-produced by Eminem and the producers who brought you some songs from the Slim Shady LP. It sucks that album, like, truly, it's a fucking flawless album, The Entity by King Gordy. But Gordy went in on this one. He started embracing the Detroit style of horrorcore that Isham and others brought to the table. I ordered this, Sean, the minute it went up for pre-orders in 2006 from just a random website. It wasn't on, there's no Amazon, there's no iTunes. I mean, at the time there was probably iTunes, but not for physical media. There wasn't a Bandcamp, but I was like, technical Detroit hip hop plus horrorcore equals James's sole interests in middle school. Like, this was the fucking jam. And I remember listening to King Gordy, I'm like, he has horrorcore elements. And then on MySpace, he released a song, it was either horrorcore or Killa from this album. I was like, holy fuck, he's embracing the horrorcore of it all. Yeah. I was jammed. I was jazzed. So when I got it, one of my biggest memories of this was just walking around Southgate, Michigan, which is a suburb of the Detroit area, by myself, listening to this many a Friday afternoons and evenings. It's crazy my parents allowed this, but clearly their priorities were in a better place because I was in Southgate, Michigan every single Friday evening to visit one of my siblings at a rehab program. That might have sounded sarcastic, Jonathan, but it's not at all. Like, yeah, their priorities needed to be elsewhere.
That doesn't sound sarcastic at all. If I listen to the context of your sentence, which I did, I'm like, no, that's true.
No, you want to know? No, yeah, their priorities should have been on me, not walking around by myself in a strange city trying to find some strange. I'm kidding.
Now that's sarcasm. See, I do know sarcasm. I'm growing as a person. That's my character arc.
Yeah. This album means a lot to me, though. I think also to the horrorcore genre itself, because without it and without King Gordy embracing horrorcore, I don't think a lot of the newer rappers in the genre would be doing technical rhyme schemes and like really focusing on writtens. Not a lot, because some are to this day doing the same old Michael Myers fan fiction with recycled rhymes like evil and people and steeple. Stop doing that. It's so bad. But yeah, that stuff still plagues the horrorcore genre. And this was also released the same summer that I started dating my first serious girlfriend. So a lot of the sense memories of this and the Entity, especially me listening to that a lot in March, the smell of spring in Michigan still reminds me of the Entity. But
that's awesome.
I would be listening to this all the time, walking or riding my bike down Riegler Road to River Road in the afternoons and vice versa at like 1 a.m. most every day of that summer. And I love this album. It's so good. All of his albums hit me in like the right spot, besides The Great American Weed Smoker, because I don't do drugs. I mean, I'm not into like smoking weed culture. I'm into watching shitty movies culture and being able to actually take a day off. But my track recommendations for this is Killa, King's Freestyle, Bullets Galore, and Horrorcore.
Hell yeah. Great segment, James.
Cheer!
All right. Let's talk, before we get into this episode, let's talk a little bit about the start of Lucha Underground and like what this was, right?
Yeah, let's do it, baby.
Cool. So Lucha Underground debuts and premieres, because those are synonyms, in the year of our Lord 2014 on the El Rey Network. El Rey Network was a television network owned by Robert Rodriguez. I knew it because it played Kung Fu movies and Lucha Underground, and that was cool.
Also, friend of Mostly Speaking Sentai, Lowbrow Studios, had a TV show on there called Explosion Jones. If you can catch it, fucking do it. It is an amazing show that I wish had many more seasons. Unfortunately, only had the one because of future issues that the El Rey Network would have.
Yeah, shouts out to Lowbrow. This was created, and I was trying to I couldn't find a lot of information on how everything hooked up. I know it was Mark Burnett, who was the creator of Survivor, The Voice, Shark Tank, and Robert Rodriguez wanted to do a wrestling show, I guess. In 2014, it's an interesting time in wrestling. We've talked on the last podcast before about TNA. So, and if you're a casual wrestling fan, you might remember WCW and ECW and WWF, the Monday Night Wars, which had concluded by 2002, I believe, or no, 2001. 2001 or 2002 is when WCW officially got bought out, and it ended.
What year did the Space Odyssey happen?
That was 2001.
Okay, then 2002 probably.
Probably, yeah. They were busy dealing with all that Hale nonsense. But it was, and so there was this weird vacuum. TNA came in and kind of filled that for a while. By 2010, literally the second like Hogan and Bischoff came into that company, it was like siphoning viewers away. It was rough. So which we might talk about TNA after we do Lucha Underground, but that's later. But so especially in North America, New Japan was going pretty strong. Ring of Honor was definitely going strong, but Ring of Honor wasn't readily available to people. New Japan wasn't super available to people in North America, so we only really had WWE and like the remnants of TNA.
Yeah.
Like there's still good things happening, but yeah, it's definitely this vacuum right now. When they came along, also like AAA, which has been a major player in professional wrestling in Mexico for decades at this point. A lot of history in AAA. So for Mark Burnett, the creator of Survivor, was like, we should bring AAA wrestling into the United States of America. And Robert Rodriguez was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And they show a little clip at the beginning of the episode of, I think it's a AAA Mania event that Dario Cueto, who we know as the producer / host / owner of Lucha Underground at the Temple, shows up at this event and is like, basically just like, I'm going to buy everyone away from your promotion and take them to America. Go fuck yourselves. Have you ever played Def Jam Fight for New York?
I've seen my friend Terry play it.
It's pretty cool. Not that I would ever recommend emulating it, but it's pretty cool. There's a scene in that game where D-Mob and Snoop Dogg are like rival owners, and Snoop Dogg walks into one of D-Mob's clubs and essentially is just like, hey, if you want to make real money, fight for me. That's literally what Cueto does to AAA.
Did he also say, hey, And I'm going to sign you to an exclusive 5-year contract. And even if we're not doing anything, you can't work anywhere else.
Verbatim.
Because that's what happens with Lucha Underground.
Yes, it does, and it sucks. We'll get into that. But right now, it's just, before we get to the sad end, we're at the exciting beginning. Woo! Which really, especially if you're a wrestling fan, at that point, I have been excited by WWE, then let down by WWE, then excited again, then let down again. It sucks. Like this, we talked about CM Punk in 2009. Awesome. CM Punk by the end of his WWE career. Jesus, what did you do to this boy? Like, and I feel like that's just such a common thing, especially when you are a monopoly and you don't have any rivals. You create a very stale product. Mm-hmm. So it was very exciting, especially to see AAA for the first time in America. Because I'm assuming you were familiar with Rey Mysterio?
Yes.
Huge star, probably the biggest crossover, at least in America, star of Luchador. But also in WCW, we saw a lot more luchadors in like Psychosis and Hoovy. Certainly Eddie Guerrero, who's not masked, but came from that tradition.
Yeah.
So like to see that, you see like, oh, I remember those guys, and to see like a little bit more of a refined version of that product than the WWE version of Lucha Libre was, I will say I was very excited when this was announced and when this started coming out. It was a cool time.
I was watching this, I was like, where the fuck is Lobo Fuerte at?
I don't think I know Lobo Fuerte.
From Los Luchadores.
Oh, God, fuck you.
Where's Turbine?
That's true. Those guys are definitely legitimate wrestlers.
They head over to Tornadas, have a smoothie. It's a good time.
So we'll go into the intro of the show, which are two sketchy bastards beating the shit out of a kid in a white hoodie in a warehouse. And let's talk about that, because from the intro of the show, this segment of the two sketchy bastards beating the shit out of this kid in the hoodie, it's not filmed like anything I've ever seen in wrestling. Mm-hmm. You watched for a little bit. It's how did you feel about, I guess, the quality of film, the filming style?
I liked it, and maybe it's because I saw the trailer or something you sent me beforehand, like a while ago. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm acclimated to what some of the wrestling and behind the scenes stuff will look like. It looked like if there was action scenes in a CSI.
Yeah, it's much more, because it doesn't have the budget necessarily of like a major film studio, but it's much more cinematic than we were used to seeing in WWE.
Yeah, at least until one of the WrestleManias that happened during pandemic. Weren't they doing like storytellers or whatever it was called?
Those are called cinematic matches, which are essentially matches that happened that are filmed, which... Because TNA, I will say, started biting this style of like a hidden camera and a little bit more cinematic a couple years later.
Yeah.
Also, cinematic matches made famous by Matt Hardy just doing weird home movies in his backyard with his brother. If you've never seen him, maybe we'll do like a special Patreon episode, I don't know, of these weird ass Matt Hardy matches, because they are fucking wild. But yeah, it's a lot dark. It's a lot darker. It's a lot more, I think, yes, a CSI style TV show.
Because of the color gradient and filters they're putting on it.
Yeah. So the gentleman in the white hoodie is saved by a luchador. A gentleman in a green mask comes in and breaks down the history of our ancestors, the 7 tribes of the Aztec Empire, and the legacy left behind. What do you know about Lucha Libre? Boom, title card.
Yeah, and we get like 2 Aztec warriors in a modern day wrestling ring. It's like I commented to Nicole, who was like walking around the room doing stuff, and I was like, if I didn't know this was made and produced by people of Mexican heritage or just straight like people who live and grew up in Mexico, I'd be like, this is some white people doing some racist shit. Like, yeah, it's without that context, you're like, is this good? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but it being so tight, and I'm curious because I don't totally know how much influence AAA has on the product. Because again, executive producers Robert Rodriguez and Mark Burnett, who, when he's not producing Survivor, is producing a lot of like weird Christian programming. I don't know. Mark Burnett's a weird dude.
Hey, he has, I believe, around 160 Emmy nominations.
He's still a weird dude, but good for him.
But if you look at like the producers and people involved in this, and especially the wrestlers themselves, it's not like a whitewashing of this stuff.
No. It is so important. Also, like Lucha Libre, which is something so exciting about this too, is like Lucha Libre and professional wrestling are treated even differently than pro wrestling in Japan, which also has a lot of honor tied to it, but not necessarily the history that Lucha Libre has tied to it, which is like tied directly to like the culture of masks and luchadors is tied to like ancient Aztec history. So to have this sense of like history and importance placed on something the WWE will get accused of doing is kind of almost being ashamed of being a wrestling show. Things have kind of changed now that Vince is gone, but I think that was a very common criticism.
This 2 weeks Vince has been gone.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, changes are interesting, but we'll see long term. I'm not hopping. There's a bandwagon. People are hopping on board. We gotta give it some time to see where it goes. I agree.
Remember when TNA, I believe it was Vince Russo, he was booted, and then someone in creative accidentally sent an email to like a bunch of wrestling stuff, only to figure out like, oh, Vince Russo's still been doing and been part of the scenes in creative for like the last 12 months or something.
Not just someone in creative. It might have been someone in creative. I think it was Dixie Carter, the actual owner. Like, not just a random person. It was the owner of the company accidentally sent an email revealing that she has been talking to Vince Russo as a quote-unquote consultant.
I feel like that there's such a huge chance that even though Vince McMahon is not there, he is still there.
It's very possible. But I will say, in terms of the product changing the way it has, there are very noticeable changes.
Okay.
Especially in the criticism I was talking about of being proud to be, no, we are a wrestling show. Pro wrestling is fine on its own. And I think part of the reason this also gets away with this here in 2014 without appearing overtly cheesy, there's some campiness, but it doesn't feel too cheesy, to me at least, because of the history that's tied to Lucha Libre.
Yeah.
And the culture. Like that, I feel like that was a big calling card, is that Lucha Libre is more than just wrestling, it is culture. And this show has that. So yeah, we're also introduced to Dario Cuete. In the intro, they show that footage of him in AAA Mania, recruiting people to come to Lucha Underground. They asked the white hoodie sad kid to join us, and we cut to the commentary team of Matt Stryker and our boy, certified juggalo, card-carrying member of the Dark Carnival. It's Vampiro.
Who is currently the JCW champion for, I think, the third time. And
hell yeah, he is.
So, Sean, I was like researching both of them, which them on commentary, I will just say this right now.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, this is energetic. Hell yeah, it's great. And I was like, it's this show, because of the commentary, I feel like it's ASMR cozy opposed to like, they're just play-by-play commentators. There's no color commentary for the most part in this. And the fact that Vampiro is just like a slightly gruffer voice than Matt Stryker.
Yeah.
I get the two of them. It sounds like just one person talking a lot of the time.
Okay, and I'm very used to, I'm kind of used to both. Matt Stryker's done commentary all over the place. I think they're both doing commentary in AAA right now. Is that true?
I don't know, but my guess is
double check. Yeah.
That it'll take a few episodes and then I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, they have two distinct voices. But in researching Vampiro, Sean,
please,
I stumbled upon, do you remember Santos? El Santos, I think is the...
yes. Was he AAA or CMLL?
I don't remember exactly what he was. I only know him for his movies.
Okay, which I've never... I know of the movie. I think I was like talking about this the other day to someone else, where I know the movies exist, but I've never seen them. Do you want to break down what these movies are real quick?
So,
because these are wild.
Of a folk hero or a superhero, but it is a real wrestler. Like, let's say instead of Hulk Hogan doing movies where he is playing like Frank Dragon or whatever the fuck he was in Three
like
Ninjas.
Mr. Nanny.
Yes.
No, he is, in fact, Hulk Hogan as Hulk Hogan. But he does all the same things you would expect a Mr. Nanny to do.
Or what you would expect a detective, a super cop, a superhero to do. That's what these Santos movies were about. And I believe it was either Riff Tracks or MST3K has recently done that. It might have been for one of the Netflix seasons of MST3K. So check that out if you can. But, Sean.
Yeah. Also, I feel like has the same contract stipulations that like Hogan or like modern day Vin Diesel has in his contracts, where he's like, "Hey, I can't get punched. Just so you know, if anyone punches me, I have to act like I don't notice it because I'm super strong and I'm cool." Like Santos had those same contracts kind of in place where it's like I don't get hit, and if I do get hit, I don't react because I'm just too tough. It's wild.
Can I read you a synopsis of one of the movies?
Please do.
An evil scientist builds a bomb to destroy the world and kidnaps a wrestler so he does not foil his plan.
Like they're but it also goes back to like Lucha Libre is more than wrestling. It is culture.
There's also like aliens in this movie, I believe, just a lot of crazy stuff. But Sean, that's not a Santos movie. That is a movie called Vampiro, Warrior of the Night, released in 1993 at the height of Vampiro's fame as a wrestler in Mexico. And Sean, it was released direct to video, so I need to have you over for an episode of Straight to Patreon for us to discuss this batshit movie.
Gladly.
Hell
in a
yes.
heartbeat. That's awesome. 1993. That's so weird too, because like 1993 at that time, Vampiro kind of like he is a member of the Dark Carnival in WCW. He has this weird, like very edgy feud with Sting. Well, you're shaking your head no.
No, he wasn't Dark Carnival until like 98 because that's when they started getting into it. 93.
No, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like when American audiences think of Vampiro, they think of like edgy Attitude Era content because that's kind of like that's when he was blowing up. That's like again in American audiences how he became really popular. So to see him in 93,
yeah, dude,
in like a very like grunge was happening in 93, but it didn't come to wrestling again until like 96, 97. Like to see him in this like very clean. I'm curious to see how he's presented in 1993.
Shout Factory has it on Shout Factory TV. You can watch it if you have Amazon Prime. So yeah, dude, we will be watching this movie maybe at the end of September.
Sure.
Do it for my birthday.
And real quick, I will say, and maybe preferences, styles might be preference of, I guess, experience in watching wrestling. As far as the ASMR, but very play-by-play, lack of color commentary, I really like that because I feel there was a while, especially like watching Jerry Lawler stuff, where like the color commentaries can fall into a trap of getting their own jokes over and getting their own stuff over, which then detracts from what's actually happening in the ring.
Yeah.
Which isn't a problem here.
That is one of my issues with Chris Rose on BattleBots, but it's come to the point where I like embrace that stuff because I'm like, oh, there's just him and Chris Florian, Kenny Florian have just like become two goofballs kind of, where it's kind of pseudo Holy Moly with why can I not think of either of their names? You know who's in Holy Moly.
I don't know this movie.
Oh, no, Holy Moly. It's the miniature golf TV show with...
Yeah, Rob Riggle and someone else.
The, like, baseball commentator is fucking flawless at playing a straight man because he allows Rob Riggle to be a maniac and reacts like a normal person. He is not acting. It's just like, yes, Rob, you are a weirdo and I will react to you like a normal person would. And it's so fucking good and flawless. And NBC tried emulating that on the Frogger show that's on Peacock, and it sucks so bad. But Rob
Riggle's great, to be fair. Rob Riggle's very funny.
Oh, so good.
Also, even in BattleBots, but especially in something like Holy Moly, where there are real people and there isn't like a story there. When you do that in wrestling, I feel like it exposes the business more, and it does a bad job of telling the subtle bits of the story.
Yeah.
Which like that's again, because it's not an actual competition, you do know how it's going to work out. And if you can give these little play-by-play notes to sort of like it enhances the reality and the immersion.
Yeah.
If you don't go full Rob Riggle. Like if you go full Rob Riggle, it's going to sort of highlight how fake it is. Mm-hmm. But it's a preference. I could see them being a little too soft, and that being a fair criticism.
Or
well.
like, get amped, get excited. The only time they were excited was during when two of the wrestlers like came to their commentary table and were fighting there. Also, a huge criticism, and I'm assuming as episodes go on, this issue will be corrected. It's the first episode. The wrestling community doesn't know about this show yet. So much of the crowd is clearly paid extras or just family members of people because, one, most of the seats aren't filled, and two, most of the people, if they had phones on them, they would be looking at their phones because they're just stone-faced looking, sometimes not even at the stage.
They pick up by the main event, but this is filmed, by the way, in a studio, as opposed to how we see wrestling in WWE or in AEW, where they'll travel to different arenas, sometimes stadiums for the pay-per-views.
Which is why I'm pretty sure, like, hey, just get some paid extras to fill out the seats. It's like, clearly this is a studio. It looks dingy, and it like is made to kind of emulate the Aztec pyramids. And the fact that they're like, oh yeah, it's like someone commenting in a movie like, wow, New York, it is a character in this, wouldn't you think? They say literally that. They're like, oh yeah, the arena's like a character itself. And it's like, yes, we know, dude.
Yeah, which is great if you're a younger fan and like maybe you don't pick up on those subtleties, but is a little. It's that weird line I feel like you walk of like, how much do we want to beat over the head to make sure you get that?
Yeah.
Because this arena, this studio is called the Temple, and the Temple being the Temple becomes a major plot point as the seasons go forward. But like, how do we do this subtly enough that you notice it, but not so subtle that you can't miss it? Yeah, they're a little.
Sean, can you spoil something? If you know this,
I might not know.
Do they end up like fighting like Aztec gods or warriors come back from the dead?
I don't remember. I think kind of.
Let's
get into it because we have a lot to get through.
Yeah, we really don't.
So I have a lot of notes.
Okay.
So So we're introduced. I love this. We're introduced to the mysterious owner, host, promoter, Dario Cueto, which Vampiro has an interesting dig. He's not Mexican, he's Spanish. So, okay. All right, Vampiro. It's also a weird time in Vampiro's career, like 2014, where I feel like he is very chilled and slowed down as opposed to like getting hyped up. Dario Cueto comes out with a briefcase. He says, "This is not a stadium where children can cheer for their heroes. This is a temple where we honor ancient traditions like courage, honor, and my personal favorite, violence." And I was like, yeah, violence is cool as hell. Oh, hell yeah, Dario. He mentions he has in the briefcase $100,000, which will go to the fighter who he is most impressive to Cueto. It's like there's no real. It's very vague. Just whoever impresses me the most, I'm going to give a signing bonus to $100,000 to.
Yeah, this gives if you love WMAC Masters, you will fucking love this show as well.
I didn't bring it up yet, but very WMAC Masters sound. Also, like in the very mysterious lore, like there's like it's weird. It's not just like, oh, it's wrestling because it's wrestling. Like no, there's something. There's definitely something going on behind. I think Stryker also mentions on commentary, I can't find anything out about this guy. I'm getting a good paycheck, but I don't know why or from where.
The producers wrote that in.
I do like that. Like, I don't like as a little extra wrinkle, just like in addition to being a wrestling show, there's a mystery going on that we'll learn about more.
Not the mystery thing, I'm getting a good paycheck. That's the thing the producers wrote.
Oh, yeah,
in.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think, yeah.
We'll talk about that in many episodes from now.
So the opening match honoring tradition with, I said tradition, weird. Traditions with two legends, red as old.
Sean, you said traditions correctly. You said traditions incorrectly.
That is true. I nailed traditions. So we got Blue Demon Jr. and Chavo Guerrero in the opening context. His music used to start with Chavo, da da da, and sometimes whenever I think of Chavo, I think of a woman moaning in my ears.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's what the WWE did to me. Blue Demon Jr., we talked a little bit about on our last podcast, but as a reminder, AAA legend, along those same categories as Santos and Rey Mysterio Sr. and all of these guys. We mentioned the first NWA world champ, the first Mexican NWA world champion, which we talk about the NWA as a collection of various territories over the years. This is the 10 pounds of gold. This is what, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes was fighting over, Dan Severn years later. This is a very prestigious title. And for Blue Demon Jr., for it to finally get to Mexico, which again had this years of history, and for Blue Demon Jr. to be the first Mexican holder of that title, the dude's a legend. And then the match starts. Well, I guess let's start with initial reactions to this match before we break it down. Or should we break it down first and then go talk about how we felt about it?
It was starting this entire show out with this, and especially then the second match, they're not really putting the best foot forward, as we've discussed with stand-up bits and slasher movies. You put your second best joke or your second best kill as the first kill, and then your best one as the last.
It's interesting. This is the pilot episode, and it's Chavo is a big name. We knew he was one of the SmackDown 6. Blue Demon Jr. is, again, a legendary luchador. But this is a small studio show in Los Angeles. Blue Demon Jr. might not be super well known. So there's not as much star power as there would be if this opened a show in Mexico. It not being a great technical match, but being two stars probably could carry it. Mm-hmm. In Los Angeles, it really doesn't, and it does. I feel like the crowd kind of dies a little bit on it. It's a very slow match. It's a very classic match. We have lock up. Chavo put Damon in the corner. Break. Damon goes behind. Chavo has a great escape from a head scissors, but very again slow and kind of old school. As to where by 2014, we have survived the WCW Cruiserweight division. We know how fast paced, and then things have picked up. We know how fast paced things can get. There's a test of strength. Damon gets a foot stomp spot where he kind of takes Chavo's hands, puts them on the mat, and then stomps on his fingers, which is so fun because Damon is definitely the baby face here. But when you saw that, when Damon put he put Chavo's hands on the fingers, and then he double stomped on his fingers. Mm-hmm. Did that look like a good guy move to you?
It looked like a little scamp move.
It looked very scampish, which I'm like, Damon, you're the good guy. You're the superhero. Why are you being scampish?
You could be a little scamp and still be a face.
You can. But famously Hogan, if you watch a lot of Hogan spots, Hogan would go for the poke to the eyes or the rake of the back constantly. But it goes back to some of that old school stuff with where athletically we are now. It doesn't really, I want to see you overpower him more than maybe necessarily do the hand stomps. It's very well put together. But you can kind of see Damon is slowing down. There's a head scissors that he kind of botches. Chavo almost drops Damon on his head, which is very scary.
Also, his knee either is really hurt or is not, and it's, being played up.
I think he's selling I think the knee is a sell. I think the knee is fine. Although, not as fine as it was, 20, 30 years ago, I'm sure. Shouts out to Chavo, though. I will say, Chavo is carrying this legend through this match and makes him look good. The spots they call are old school enough that Damon can definitely keep up. Because I remember Chavo in SmackDown a couple years before this. he could go so much faster and do so much more. But he's like running all over the ring. He's bumping, like he's falling for Damon all over. He makes Damon look very good. I think Chavo does a great job with this. Vampiro has another. Vampiro might be a little like mild-mannered in this, but he has some lovely bits of shade. The quote in this match, the only one of the Guerrero family that was really liked by anybody was Eddie. Mm-hmm. Which is just so like, not that was really liked by everybody. No, he said liked by anybody. The only member of their family that people enjoyed being around was his dead uncle. Which is like, Jesus Christ. Damon, the end of the match, Damon cuts Chavo off on the top. Which, again, it is kind of another heel move. They have to cover it up. Chavo's on the top rope. Damon hits the top rope so that Chavo slips and ends up nutting himself on the turnbuckle.
Ooh, yeah.
Again, is kind of... And they immediately go like, it's not a disqualification because he slipped.
Yeah.
But is another... The difference, I understand, real quick. Tecnicos and Rudos. So Tecnicos and Rudos are the baby faces and heels in Lucha Libre.
Okay.
The difference, though, I forget the documentary. It's very good. It was on Netflix. But that is a little more detailed than that. The difference is in how they win matches. A Tecnico wins the match by being technically superior. I out-wrestle you. You know, that's why I'm the good guy. That's why people cheer me, is because I just out-wrestle you. Where Rudos will win a match by any means necessary. For instance, stomping on the hands or causing you to slip on the top rope. Like, it's interesting seeing like Damon doing these, but again, it's very old school. Especially when you're at that age of your career, you will take the shortcuts because you kind of have to.
Was the documentary Lucha Mexico?
I think so.
It's on Tubi and Pluto for free. It was in 2015.
That sounds about right.
Okay.
But yeah, so that being the difference between Tecnicos and Rudos, again, it being specifically about how you win matches. Do you win through technical expertise, or do you win by any means necessary? And seeing Damon cut him off on the top ropes, landing him on the nuts, I'm like, okay.
I like that. I like that distinction.
Yeah, so do I. That it's a little more, it's not just as simple as baby good guy, bad guy. It's a little deeper.
Like, you could be just a terrible individual, but like, if you are showing your chops and you're the best, you could still be seen as like, oh, yeah, dude, we love you.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you do by any means necessary, there are a lot of people out. I know in Arena de Mexico, they will split up. This area cheers for the Tecnicos. This area cheers for the Rudos. And the Rudos section is usually overpopulated because people respond to winning by any means necessary. Mm-hmm. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin would be an absolute Rudo. That was his whole, I'm a badass who will do what it takes to win. Like that, people respond to that because it's a little more relatable than the superhero El Santo.
Hell yeah.
So the end of the match, after the top rope fumble, Damon captures Chavo in this. It's almost a sharpshooter, but not totally. It becomes this lion. So the lion tamer was Chris Jericho's Walls of Jericho, where he won't flip you all the way over. He kind of turns you on your neck and applies all that pressure there. Mm-hmm. So that's what he does with his sharpshooter. It's like this it's this sharpshooter lion tamer where he doesn't flip Chavo over completely, and then he just captures the arm. Chavo taps at 5 minutes 15 seconds.
You tapped out.
I agree that it felt longer than 5 minutes 15, which is not what you want out of your opener.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, where do you put Blue Demon Jr. on the card if he's not going to main event, you know?
By the time like they were like, hey, and up next is our main event, I was like, wait, oh wow, 3 matches? This is good. Of like, hey, we're chugging along.
It chugged along, but I agree, especially these first 2 matches opening them, they're not the best. It's not the best showcase, especially of what this company is going to do.
I will say so do you want to get into the second match? Because I have mainly just one thought on it.
Real quick, let's talk about the segment in between where Conan, Wolfpack All-Star, WCW All-Star, take a look at this cool hat, Tony Schiavone, meets Cueto, who's like, hell yeah, I got a legend working for me. And Conan's like, I don't know about all this working for you, but you're paying me, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, let me tell you about the best wrestler in the world who's right here from LA. And Cueto's like, there's a lot of great wrestlers. Let's see, including the cocky and arrogant Johnny Mundo, John Morrison, who's not here for the respect. He's just here for money, like K-Dog just said he was. But anyway, John Morrison's a bad guy to me. Cueto wants this new guy that Conan's bringing in to make an example out of Johnny, which is where we set up, because I do want to introduce the introduction of Prince Puma. We also get the intro package to Prince Puma. This sort of like, here's who he is, here's what he's about. We also get some more exposition about the 7 Aztec tribes. What did you think about this Prince Puma?
Well, Prince Puma, his spirit animal, obviously, is that of a jaguar.
Classically.
Guys, Puma. Why would it obviously be a jaguar when his name is Prince Puma? And it's not like, hey, Puma means something else. No, like they then say like, oh yeah, Puma it's a fearful cat. Like it should be a puma, not a jaguar.
No, the Vampiro sometimes just says things, and that's cool too.
Well, no, it wasn't him. It was the other
was that
dude.
Matt Stryker? That's all.
No.
That's
it was in the package. Stryker. It was the
was it Conan.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It was Conan. Conan also is just going to say things.
Insane.
And that's okay. Conan's a legend, and we just let him say things sometimes. Yeah, he explains the 7 Aztec tribes. Each tribe had their own champion, the original luchadors. And he also, which I enjoyed so much, explaining the mask as a symbol of life and as a tribute to the ancient days of these Aztec tribes and warriors meeting each other in single combat and then beheading each other. And that's what, and having that, because again, if you're an American wrestling fan and you don't understand the culture of lucha libre, that thing and why are masks so important? It's not just the gimmick, it's not just, if you lose a mask versus mask match, why is that a big deal? Because that represents your life.
Yeah,
that represents you being beheaded, and that's why it's such a great symbol of shame to lose it. And again, for something that's a little deeper than traditional American wrestling, I love that they explained that.
Yeah.
There's also the line, fight like you've done your whole life, like you've done on the streets. Prince Puma, a.k.a. Ricochet, was born in the suburbs of Illinois and then spent most of his time training in Philadelphia.
Oh, wait, Ricochet, what are you talking about? It's not Ricochet, the freaking liberals, man.
Wait, what?
Again, like with the Billy Club and then a Ricochet. Oh shoot, what was?
Stop trying to make this joke happen. It's not good.
It was a funny thing because I just read the example. Oh yeah, the bullet from the assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan ricocheted off from the limousine walls. That's his full name.
Hitty who?
I didn't know Prince Puma was Ricochet, aka a canceled name.
So Prince Puma. So we'll call him Prince Puma because to be fair, he's playing Prince Puma, who is a Los Angeles native. And I don't want to mention that because Prince Puma is a cool character. The performer portraying him is not a Los Angeles native, but he does a good job, so we're gonna let that go. Yeah, in Lucha Underground, Conan will show Puma his glory. Very excited. And then we have a very short match in the second match. Son of Havoc, a.k.a. Matt Cross, a.k.a. you may recognize from Backyard Wrestling, M-Dog 20. M-Dog 20 was in the Backyard Wrestling. M-Dog 20 is great. In Lucha Underground, he's Son of Havoc, and he is fighting Sexy Star.
So here's my thought on this. If this is the first act in a 3-act play, fucking great. It will lead to a, great triumph. If this is the only thing they're doing with these two individuals, it's gonna suck. So I hope they get another match. She almost wins, it's like a nice meaty match. Oh shoot, she loses. Then the third time, holy fuck, she's victorious. She's pissing on his grave and shit. Hell yeah. But again, if this is where it leaves this story, it's just poor conceptually.
Yeah, so it's a very short match. Sexy Star, I almost said Matt Havoc. Son of Havoc comes to the ring first. As Sexy Star is making her entrance, Havoc basically says "Hey, I'm not wrestling a woman. Get out of here." Sexy Star is a woman. Son of Havoc is a man. He's like, "Hey, I'm not wrestling a woman. Get out of here and leave with your life." She's like, okay. And he turns his back going like, I did it. And then she jumps him from behind, as the fool he is for turning his back so soon. There are some struggles. The big story is that every time Sexy Star starts getting offense in, Havoc overpowers her. Eventually, he kind of catches her into a backbreaker and pulls the tights during a pinfall. So it's not, I do like that too. I like that they put that in there, that he didn't just beat her. He didn't beat her because he's stronger than her. He beat her because he cheated. He pulled on the tights, which is an illegal maneuver in a pinning predicament. But it's a very nothing match, a minute 46, which again, in the pilot episode feels...
Yeah.
And both of them, like, they have, spoilers, they are both major players and they have huge matches. I don't mind this. I guess I don't mind it as their first match, but I don't know if you put it on the pilot.
Yeah, especially when you only have 3 matches.
Yeah. We cut backstage. So this match is a really nothing match, but it sets up the story and it sets up Sexy Star as a character. We also see an intro package for Sexy Star, who has lines, "In the mirror, I used to see a woman who was afraid. I came from a world of abuse, even contemplated suicide. Then this mask saved my life. I lace up my boots for every girl who needs to get on their feet, for every girl who needs to not be afraid." Which is interesting because she kind of gets canceled later in life, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's what it is. She's a huge star. It's weird because she is a huge star in Lucha Underground, spoilers. So we're going to see a lot of Sexy Star. And the way the character's presented, like, that's all cool. That's great for a character on television to be. It's unfortunate who she is as a person, maybe.
And you want to know, I'm not going to look up anything about this individual until you tell me what they are.
Okay, I'm not sure because it doesn't... Well, actually, maybe we should do it. I think I want to do it now because it doesn't happen until the show closes.
Okay.
So I think the big thing, she was wrestling an event in AAA. Essentially, she kind of put a shoot armbar as a finish on Rosemary and like legit tears her bicep. Oh. And wrestling injuries happen. I think the way she handled it afterwards, it was called into question whether or not she did it on purpose. And then the way she kind of doubled down on social media afterwards kind of depicted her as unsafe, which is a business as weird as let's agree to fake fight each other to put on a good show.
Yeah.
Is really not okay if you're actively trying to hurt your opponent.
Okay, I thought she was like, hey, if you get assaulted, like, you can't get pregnant. And I thought it was like that type of getting canceled. I was like, oh, man, I don't want to root for this person then. No,
it was, hey, I don't care about the people I'm working with. Mm-hmm. And if they get hurt, I'd probably just look cooler as I look like a more legit fighter.
Oh, okay, so Nick Gage can do this, but he's still over there wrestling?
Man, just because David Arquette's a little bitch who can't take a pizza cutter to the face.
Ooh.
You're all on Nick Gage's case. You let him go.
David Arquette? No, David Arcade. I like that. I don't know what it would be. Like a Dave and Buster's?
Time to play the game. Dave and Buster's Arcade.
But let's get into this last matchup.
Yeah. Real quick, because the Chavo segment backstage is going to set up a lot. Chavo is sweating alone in a locker room, which I love that for him. I just love that the shot is Chavo. And it's, by the way, all the locker rooms, the temple it looks like an abandoned warehouse covered in graffiti, very dimly lit. So it's just this dimly lit Chavo Guerrero sweating to himself, looking sad. When Dario Cueto comes in with what happened? You lost. You tapped out. What would your grandfather think? What would your uncle think? The only person in your family that anybody liked. And since Chavo didn't finish the job, Dario Cueto will have to bring in someone who will. But Cueto cannot control him when he does. This is the line that got me. 1,000 deaths may be coming for us all.
Ooh. Sean, crazy. I forgot. You like Norman Smiley, right?
I love Norman Smiley. That dude's great.
Well, I forgot to tell you in Vampiro, Night of the Warrior.
Stop it.
There might be a Norman Smiley cameo.
Let's fucking go, baby.
Yeah,
Let's
guys.
Go Black Magic. Let's go.
Patreon.com/MLM pod. $10 patrons will be getting that at the end of September, us discussing Warrior of the Night.
But before we discuss that, let's discuss a main event that is I think phenomenal. Spoiler alert, I liked this match a lot. It is Johnny Mundo versus Prince Puma. Mundo immediately with the wet hair. Just wet hair out of the gate. I'm like, yes, let's effing go, baby. Keep it moist.
This dude came to the ring like a rock star.
I love.
Yeah, that's his whole thing, dude.
Yeah. Don't be so confused. That's an actual line, and it's great. Johnny. By the way, and John Morrison at this point released from the WWE 3 years ago. I think he was working Hollywood. He was taking some stuntman gigs, but has not been, at least on television, wrestling for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Which I think we've talked about before. I loved John Morrison.
Same.
I thought John Morrison was so cool. I was always like, give him the rocket. He can do so much. He's doing such a different style, and it looks so cool. And it looks so good on television. It looks so good live. This guy's a great heel. He's a great good guy. He can do anything.
And he looks great.
He looks amazing. This man has more abs than I have brain cells. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. Mundo's out with the wet hair. Puma represents the dawn of a new understanding, which is a cool to learn.
Can I actually? You should have said his abs have more lumps than my brain.
That's fair and accurate too. The match kicks off with Puma throwing low kicks out the gate. He hits one low kick. Johnny blocks the second one, but then catches the third one to the gut.
He also is like, with the first one, he's like, why did you do that? Like, it doesn't seem like, oh, it hurt. He's like, what the fuck was that?
It's this weird, because honestly, it's not how wrestling matches start normally. Mm-hmm. That's how MMA matches open up. Is like these. I'm gonna soften up your legs. I'm gonna throw like 1,000. Like, have you watched a lot of MMA? Oh, you're familiar with? Okay, I will say, because a lot of MMA, I feel like in modern wrestling we have taken a lot more from MMA, and so these low kicks, which are not designed to knock you out, but to wear out your legs. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not that you take one of those; it's that you take 50 of those, and you're like, shit, I can't run anymore. So it's in 2014, it's representing this. It is this, I guess, dawn of a new understanding of what combat sports is. It's not lock up headlock. It's a feel out process. Let me see my range against yours. Let me see if I can get these leg kicks in.
Yeah.
And I think by the third kick to the gut, he's like, okay. He gives him a little applause. He's like, okay, new kid on the block he's gonna get a bunch of hits. Oh, Chinese food doesn't make him sick. And the thing I don't remember about this match is how much offense Puma gets in over Mundo. Puma, most of the offensive moves are done by Prince Puma, mm-hmm. which is very for a newer wrestler. Prince Puma has not been wrestling super long. He has spent some time in ROH. He has spent some time in New Japan and the Indies. But Johnny Mundo is a recognizable televised face.
Yeah.
And for him, this makes me think Mundo he might be a very cool dude, because it's very easy to come into a brand new promotion like this and to kind of big dick your energy around.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, that's not going to work for me. I don't know if you noticed, but I was on television. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take any moves from this kid.
I was on television and I've been in movies.
Yeah, I'm not going to sell a kid. He really lets Puma blow up, and it's awesome, because if you've never seen a Ricochet match or a Prince Puma match, he has really cool looking moves. I'm trying to think, we have the Puma, we got this arm wrench exchange, which looks awesome as they're flipping and they're rolling and they're back flipping to get each other out of these arm wrenches. We have Puma hits this crucifix pin, 2 count, and then immediately shotgun drop kicks Johnny, and then they both double kip up, and that's like okay, we're both really fast. That's the moment where it's like, we're not feeling each other out. Let's fucking go for it. I love this line on commentary. Matt Stryker asks, what are some characteristics of Conan's personality? And Vampiro responds, unfortunately, this kid is about to be corrupted. Which I'm like, that's sexy as hell, Vampiro. I don't know if you noticed, but fuck yeah, dude.
I was looking at John Morrison's Johnny Mundo's filmography, and it's like, oh, and he also was in the 37th season of Survivor. I was like, oh, he got that probably because he was on this.
Oh yeah, I didn't know. That's pretty cool. They had 37 seasons of Survivor?
It's been going forever.
Good for them. Prince Puma hits a backflip into a second backflip into a head scissors takedown, into a double head scissors, into a missile drop kick, huge pop. I will say, I feel like by all the problems we had with the crowd before, which again were admittedly two not very exciting matches, they come to life on this one. Whether there's paid extras or they just like finally had something to like really crowds loud as hell for the entire match.
Can I say something? I'm guessing he is an actual cool person because he has been in NTSF, SD, SUV. He like as a actual character and was on bajillion dollar property. So he's in the comedy world, was on Glow, in Sharknado. So yeah, I think
he was in the corner for Dad, the Twitch YouTube personality during that YouTube boxing thing.
Hell
and
yeah.
then Dad has started showing up to like Mundo's wrestling events to sort of be. And if you don't know Dad, he's your dad, but he's also a robot. I think he's a robot designed to be the perfect father figure and YouTube influencer. It's very weird. But like, again, the only kind of weird that like, and Mundo totally buys the gimmick. Like, yeah, he seems like a really cool dude, which makes me so happy, especially with this match. That's just, I'm glad it's confirmed by like him doing all these comedy things. But you can also tell, again, just by how much he's giving to this younger talent that he absolutely does not have to. He does not have to give this much to the younger talent, and he makes both men look amazing in the whole match. Eventually, Mundo finally gets his cut off with a backbreaker into guillotine on the top rope, back elbow into corkscrew roundhouse. This man loves to spin and loves to kick. Finally, we get into the mat work. Like everything has been on their feet, just huge. So by the time we get the second act, we're finally into like on the mat. We get Puma puts in this full leg Nelson, which I fucking love. It can't be a very effective submission maneuver, but you know, like a full Nelson, you take your arms, you put your hands behind your opponent's head, and they're like, I'm a weird little puppet doll. Mm-hmm. Fucking Puma does that with his legs, and it looks cool as hell to me. Mundo counters out into an ankle lock, and I like this little bit of storytelling. He goes for the ground and pound, but he lets go of the ankle lock. So while he's punching Puma, he lets go of the ankle lock. Then he tries to go back into it, but by then it's too late because Puma's too quick. He's very good at escaping. He's not the strongest guy in the ring, but he can escape almost anything. Eventually, this leads into a triangle drop kick, which is the dopest Chris Jericho thing Chris Jericho's ever done. The dude's on the apron, and then he jumps off the second rope and just drop kicks you off the apron. You never see it coming.
Oh.
We get a feint outside dive. And then Puma just fucking drills Mundo in the face. Drills him in the face.
With a drill, like in Slumber Party Massacre.
Hell yeah. Prince Puma's your dentist, baby, and he wants you to open wide for that Jaguar dick.
Well, no, a real drill, guys, not his penis.
Yeah, but also his penis.
Oh, damn.
It could be both.
He's going to ricochet some cum in that mouth.
For true.
Bouncing off the back of your throat onto the tip of his dick.
I'm bouncing off your throat again.
Whoa!
This takes us to the announce desk spot, which we were kind of talking about before. The first time the announcers get excited. Crowd again is on their feet. Crowd's really into this match.
Most of the crowd. Some of the crowd is not.
Some of the crowd's not. Some of those crowd might be the paid extras.
Yes.
But I feel like, I don't know, at least vocally, like if you like listening to the crowd, much louder than in the previous matches.
Yeah.
There's this cool spot. Nobody goes through the announce table, which I appreciate. Because that's what I was expecting by the time they got to the announce table, right? Like you kind of expect, like I guess when you watch a lot of wrestling, you kind of like, oh, someone's going to be put through a table.
Yeah.
Like that's a common trope. Instead, Johnny Mundo's just like, no, I'm going to do parkour off of it. Whoop. And then we get a flat. I love this visually. The flapjack into the ring post. We sort of like he parkours over Prince Puma. Then he picks Prince Puma up by the legs and just drills his face into the ring post vertically.
Sean, we might need to you're saying a lot of terms that I don't know, and I didn't like. I watched it, but you're saying these things that for me and probably a lot of our listeners will be like, okay, we might need to just focus on the big spots instead of a play-by-play because when you would do Sweaty Time previously, I'd be like, yeah, I'm just listening to a story. I guess I should have watched these matches, but now I'm realizing even if I watched the matches, I'd have some things to comment on. But as a play-by-play, I'm like, I guess that happened.
Okay, thank you for criticizing me live on the podcast.
No, I'm also like, because it's good that I'm saying it right now.
Why is this good that you're saying it right now and not after we turned off the record?
Because then someone might come in and then say it to you,
so that I can get double teamed. This is awesome.
And wouldn't you rather have it from me, your friend, instead of some
off air?
Some chud?
I would love for this to happen.
Steve Barnes?
Steve Barnes says a goddamn thing. I swear to God.
You're back at him.
We're about to finish. I'll just jump to like the major spots. I love that court. I did want to make sure I get that flapjack spot in. We get like, because I think that's the second. I forgot. I missed the first one, but this is awesome chants from the crowd. Which is, we get back to the side headlock. We're kind of slowing things down. We're moving to the finish. Johnny's looking for the Starship Pain, which is called Underworld or El Fin de Mundo in Lucha Underground, which is I like the name Starship Pain. I really like the name El Fin de Mundo though.
Yeah,
El Fin de Mundo is a cool fucking name for a thing.
A thing.
Yeah.
Not a wrestling move, just anything.
Literally. Like, oh, what's the name of your band? El Fin de Mundo. Fucking sweet, dude. Ooh, hey, what's the name of your book? El Fin de Mundo. Fucking yeah, guy.
Oh, that thing that you did when you were like pile driving me during sex. What do you call that move?
El Fin de Mundo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. Hey, what's the name of your kid? El Fin de Mundo. Oh, shit. Your kid's badass. I love that. Yeah. Literally anything named El Fin de Mundo. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to me.
I saw this like 666 birthmark on him, and that's the only thing that came to mind to call him.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? True. If that kid is the Antichrist, I'm glad I'm a Satanist.
Ooh.
There was an interesting spot here, which I guess this might be a little more for wrestlers because I don't think you know much about the Ultimate Warrior.
No.
He's an old like golden era guy, WWF guy. He's insane.
Oh yeah.
Rest in peace. Yeah, no, he is a crazy person, but he's kind of known his big closer, his finisher would be 2 clotheslines and then a body splash, right? Where he runs off the ropes, he hits a clothesline, and then you stand up, but he's running off the other rope to hit a second clothesline. So it kind of looks like, oh, I got clotheslined before I could even stand up. I got clotheslined again. And it's so interesting to see Johnny Mundo do a spot like this because Ultimate Warrior, famously not much of a worker, more of a personality than a worker.
Yeah. That's all I know about him.
Right. And to see, this is the spot, if you remember, he hits 2 clotheslines and then he does kind of like a jumping leg kick. It's very interesting to see Mundo take this warrior spot, a guy famous for not being a great worker, and making it look fucking phenomenal. Which again is just like how good Johnny Mundo is. It's like he's taking this like instead of clothesline body splash, it's clothesline leaping leg lariat, almost a gamangiri, which is like, what the fuck are you doing, guy? You're not. How are you this good? It's wild.
A gamangiri is some stage acting thing, right?
Yes, gamangiri created exiting on the left side of the stage as opposed to the right.
Okay, hell yeah.
Let's see. Mundo running knee 2 counts. Puma counters 1 moonlight drive. Eventually, he does take the moonlight drive, which is the corkscrew neck breaker, but it kicks out at 2. So again, like Puma's kicking out of 2 at these huge moves. He keeps kicking out. So not just is he escaping moves, he's also tough because in this 3rd gear of the match, this is when Mundo really starts hitting a lot of his signatures.
Yeah, hey, that's the spirit animal jaguar inside of him.
Absolutely. Goes for the 450 splash like a jaguar do. Unfortunately, he spends too much time and Mundo rolls away. This is where he does hit the moonlight drive after the Puma's failed 450. Mundo attempts a powerbomb. Puma escapes, but walks into a standing Spanish fly, which they will call a C4. And then off of that, which is the sort of like, I put you here, but instead of like doing a Russian leg sweep or anything, I backflip with you. It's one of those very wrestling moves that like, yeah, you probably shouldn't do a standing Spanish fly in a fight, but in a wrestling ring, it looks cool as hell, and you should do 1,000 of them. Mundo does hit the fin de mundo, aka the starship pain, aka split-legged corkscrew moonsault, wins in 12 minutes and about 30 seconds, which is by far the longest match of the night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And again, if the show was just this match, I would be totally fine.
Yeah.
This match is beautiful. If anything, I guess you don't probably need to see any of the other matches. The backstage segments are cool, but it's definitely for me. I would definitely recommend people seeking out this match. And I promise in the future, I will do less play-by-play and more of just the main spots to check out.
I will say that I was fearful that this would be like the opposite of BattleBots and how I watch that, which is I seek through all the backstage like bullshit stuff just to go to the matches, which is how I'm able to binge 4 seasons of a TV show that like the runtime each episode is an hour and 20 minutes. I thought it was going to be like, I just want to focus on the backstage stuff and I'll skip through the wrestling. But because some of them were shorter and then the long one, even though it wasn't that long, was very good, my attention was there the entire time.
Yeah, it's not just spots, which some of the Americanized version of Lucha Libre of high flying, huge flipping spots gets criticized for not having a lot of psychology. Like they really did. This was a 3-act proper structure. They're feeling each other out. Then Puma gets a lot of offense in, really until Johnny Mundo does the parkour flip and then, smashes his head into the ring post. After that, it was a lot more Johnny Mundo and the story of, I guess, bombs, which I'm stealing from kind of All Japan, which are your bombs are your big moves, right? Like it's cool that you can do a kick, that you're hitting all these kicks and these drop kicks. How's your giant power bomb? How is your spine crushing suplex? Those are your bombs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you want to hear one of my bombs?
Were you just sitting there waiting to get a joke in?
Do you want to hear one of my bombs?
Sure.
So I saw this billboard that says, "Be a dad today."
Oh my God. All right. So I liked the story structure of this match. James, as someone who doesn't watch a lot of wrestling, I guess what I'm asking is that too much? Am I going too inside baseball, or did you feel like there was a story in this match?
That started like clicking, but I'm not like seeing that, but it clicked in my head when one of the commentators said, "Oh, the story." Like they're going inside and saying things that you wouldn't normally hear. So yeah, I enjoyed it. That's all I'm gonna say. Like this was fun.
That's fair, which is totally reasonable. That's kind of what I wanted to ask, is because we have two different eyes, two different sets of eyes. Or I'm a big old fucking nerd, so I am picking up on feeling each other out, then going to the outside, and then Mundo is throwing all these bombs, and Puma keeps kicking out, and then you can just watch and be like, yo, that looked fucking cool as hell. That was exciting. I don't need at this level, that's all you really need is like, was this exciting? Was this fun to watch?
We technically have 4 sets of different eyes.
Oh, because we have glasses on.
Or if you count 4.5 with my anal ocule.
I don't count your anal ocule, and I
it's
never
like
will.
Anal dentata.
And I never will. I never will.
I have an
James,
eyeball in my butt.
I beg of you to stop bringing up your anal ocule at every picnic we go to.
It comes in handy though. It's like I can spy on people without because if you just see like a butt out of nowhere, you're not going to immediately pick up on that because you recognize faces.
Sure. I'm not saying it's not useful. I'm just saying stop bringing it up, because if anything, people are going to, if you keep bringing it up, everyone's going to expect your anal ocule to come out, and it will no longer be a surprise.
It does get confusing because the doctors will sometimes think I have like a prolapsed anus, but it's just my eye pushing out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's get so we'll talk about the post-match real quick. After the match, Dario Cueto comes out of his office, which is right next to the ring, which I love.
Uh-huh.
I love that he has an office, and it's just like I don't know. It feels so small and cozy to me that his major office is just like right next to the ring.
Well, it feels like a foreman at a factory where it's like, oh, I need to be like a shitty foreman, like someone who's oh, I need to be on everyone's toes at all times, or at like grocery stores. Like it'll be like above the entire store so you can look out and see everything.
Yeah, which is fair. Dario Cueto is a micromanaging douchebag foreman as a character choice, and I love that. He also might be a necromancer. We'll get into that later. Chants immediately come from the audience, make him pay, make him pay. Cueto has the briefcase and a microphone. He's like, congratulations, Johnny, you've earned this. He opens the briefcase, but then Pretty Woman's the briefcase on Johnny's hands before he can get to it. And the fact that Johnny's wrestling for the briefcase makes me think they didn't tell him what happens next. So like he's wrestling for the briefcase, and then three men come from behind and they beat the shit out of Puma and Johnny, including an early big rig, which is the FTR finish now, which I was surprised to see. Because FTR is a big tag team, arguably the most popular tag team right now, at least in the Americas. And to see someone else use their finish, I was like, cool. Wrestling is forever.
You also get Vampiro after the briefcase is closed. He says, oh yeah, I've dealt with my fair share of jabroni promoters not wanting to pay.
Which is true, both in the world of wrestling and specifically to Vampiro.
Yeah.
Y'all, all you independent contractors and artists out there, make sure you get your money.
I bet he got paid bucos for Vampiro, Knight of the Warrior, Warrior of the Night.
Vampiro is so good in this. I enjoy Vampiro very much.
I am very curious as to what Nicole will be thinking of this movie. Will be forcing her to watch.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You forced me to listen to the Insane Clown Posse until I became a juggalo, and now I can't get jobs anymore. So
I actually think Nicole will enjoy stuff like this. And if I say like, hey, it's like that El Santo movie that Mystery Science Theater did, she might be a little more open to being like, oh, this is just going to be bonkers insanity.
Hopefully it's bonkers insanity, though. Like by 93, that trope of the luchador movie experience, I feel like I don't know. I feel like by then they might have tried to legitimize it, so it might not be as bonkers anymore. We'll see. Oh no,
this is direct to video and had a shoestring budget. It is
okay. Then I'm excited.
Yeah,
this is gonna be great.
The reviews I've read are it's crazy, but yeah, man, I really enjoyed this, and it was a case where I was like, well, I want to see where the story goes. I'm gonna watch another ep, but I gotta hold off.
Yeah, same here. Again, the fact that this is not just, wrestling, but that there is some more things happening. The temple, you don't have to say it, but the fact that the temple is a character, that there's something mysterious about, nobody knows why Cueto is doing this.
Yeah.
Nobody makes money in wrestling. Why is he throwing around $100,000? Is it because he's just a kind of a dumb, silly money mark? Or is there something more sinister happening behind the scenes?
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Next week, baby.
Yeah. I think I would recommend this. I think I would only recommend, though, if you were to watch it, you can kind of skip around and really just watch Mundo versus Puma. I think that's the only match you need that's like, oh yeah, that's a fun match to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I feel like you kind of skip around. Maybe check the Prince Puma intro package because they drop exposition about everything else.
I would say watch all the like interstitial stuff. And then the first two matches, if you're in a hurry, skip them.
If you're into a sad, sweaty Chavo Guerrero, which why wouldn't you be? Yeah, definitely watch that. Just Chavo sweating alone is my favorite.
Why is that your favorite?
I don't know, but it really is.
Jeez,
he's just so expressive.
My favorite's like a sweaty Nicole sitting alone.
Wow. Well, I'm still single. So, as the end of the podcast.
Guys, any women who are into wrestling, you want to come onto a dating show on Twitch. See, we can change it over from juggalettes to just general people into wrestling. Hey.
I don't know why this is the thing, but I think I like this bit more than I like you quoting my own jokes from high school back to me.
Hey, you said 21, so get the fuck out.
Okay, no, I was in college, but I probably wrote the joke in high school.
What? Then you lied. You said you just saw it.
What? Oh, yeah, comedy's a lie.
No.
I'm sorry, but yeah.
Are you telling me there's a chance that Joe Coy's son didn't paint his pee-pee green and say, ding, ding?
No, Joe Coy is legit.
Okay.
Joe Coy is a prophet. Yeah, don't worry about that.
Oh my God, I was scared.
James, do you want to plug anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, hey guys, go over to MLMpod.com to find out information about my other podcasts, such as Mostly Speaking Sentai. Sean's been on that a lot. Ooey, ooey. Then listen to my music under Marshland Monster. Howard Kramer and I got a new single coming out. You might know him as Dragon Boy Suede. On September 2nd, everywhere music is available. It is called Exploding Load. It's very fun. Check it out. Or listen to the other singles we have done wherever music is found. Also, head over to patreon.com/MLMpod, where for $5 a month, you get exclusive podcasts every single Friday. Plus, if you're a $10 patron, you get more exclusive podcasts like Straight to Patreon. We will be doing this Vampiro movie. And you get shout outs on every single free feed podcast. So let's begin with those, starting with Steve F., Eric Berry of Ranger Command Power Hour, Alex Z, The Waz, Orion, he's a rapper, Defo, D-F-O, Kayla, aka Two Grapes, Jordan B, The Chaos Witch, Joshua, that's my brother-in-law pretty much, Steve Barnes, he co-hosts a podcast with me called Sweet Child of Time, check it out, my mother, and finally, Lil Corey's BFF and roommate, Shane.
All right. You can always find me on twitch.tv/GooseVK, and I play wrestling games and others. And that's the podcast. Y'all make sure you hit that reverse triangle, jiu-jitsu style, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Get sweaty.